Hello, my mimics, and welcome back to the Mimic Commentary. I believe we're on part 18, and we just recently finished the Weeping Peninsula. You may be asking yourselves, why are we at the Church of Dragon Communion? Well, I think in the last episode, I said we were going to go to Stormhill, but we are, in fact, going to go to the Stranded Graveyard and do up that little dungeon there. And before we did, I needed to take a look at the Dragon Communion spells, because it's going to be relevant. Currently, we only have one Dragon Heart on us. Offering Dragon Communion, Consume the Heart. It's got Gravelstone in it. Came from a dragon. A modern dragon, not like an ancient dragon. And I just wanted to read one of the incantations. Dragon Communion transforms caster into a dragon. Okay, I just wanted to confirm that it is transforming the person into a dragon. When you do Dragon Communion, you are transforming into a dragon. In the last episode, our big episode on Castle Morn, about an hour and a half long, there was a few things that were interesting that I didn't really dwell on, that I wanted to just bring up briefly before we go into the dungeon, and we're going to use the Church of Dragon Communion to chat about them real quick. And that had to do with kind of the overarching history of the world, how there's an overlap in culture, and the importance of bloodlines. We have Kenneth Haight, who when we first meet Kenneth Haight, he's like, Godric, he's the blood of Godfrey, but you wouldn't know it by looking at him. He says, tarnished, well, being nobility isn't the prerequisite of assisting true order. And then he talks about there's a knight who took his castle who is just obsessed with blood. When this guy is he's really obsessed with blood. The irony is that this guy's obsessed with bloodlines, who has royal blood, who should be the heir to Limgrave, things like that. Then there was a ghost in Castle Morn, in the jail area, and he was concerned with a misbegotten possibly eating him, and that would curse him forever because he's of noble blood. And the irony is we've been trying to think, are the misbegotten, they kind of look like dragon people. Are they like people who are turning into dragons? Well, we learned from the Old Fang that they, the misbegotten, they kind of look like people, but they have animal parts. They have a lot of human teeth, but apparently they have these old fangs too. That their multiple overlapping fangs grow from a single root. Perhaps they're a vestige of the primordial crucible. And we have this down here. The red tinge in the gold coat mirrors the primordial matter that became the Erdtree. Okay, so this color looks like this red color. Red gold. When I think red, I think blood. This primordial matter that became the Erdtree. So, and let me just look at the fang again. Yeah, primordial crucible. So primordial crucible, primordial matter became the Erdtree. Then we have, the crimson and amber viridian medallions. Kind of green representing stamina and power, and red representing health and life. Just briefly, I wanted to talk about the colors real quick. Red, boost your max HP. The color red related to health and vitality. The color green boosts stamina, and it's kind of related to power. And we'll see more of this throughout the game when we see more colors of green. And we get this power connection thanks to the pickled turtle meat, which temporarily boosts stamina recovery, and it's green, and it says that the nutrients churn the body, practically blowing out endless power. And you need stamina to cast spells and do attacks. But we wanted to look at the primordial life energy that resides inside of the amber, which was the most precious jewels of the Age of Godfrey. And then lastly, if we look at our runes, even now, runes are still imbued with the power of life itself. And I said lastly, but we got one more. Beast blood is fresh beast blood glinting with gold. The glimmering blood never rots or decays. So when we put all this together, these people who were obsessed with the purity of bloodlines, and they say that the misbegotten are mongrels and they're menial, and these people are noble while the misbegotten aren't. The misbegotten have these vestiges of the primordial crucible, and the primordial crucible looks like it's tied to this lifeblood that was this primordial matter, that was the Erdtree, is red gold like the beast blood. So there's this irony in that these people looking for purity of bloodlines and nobility from bloodlines are, and also Erdtree worshippers, are kind of, they're mistaken. Their beliefs are, their beliefs are based on bigotry and a misunderstanding on how the world actually works. There's a little bit of irony in that guy saying, "Don't eat me, I have noble blood," because those misbegottens, they might be more, their blood might be more nobler than theirs is, if that makes sense. So we will probably see more of this. And the reason why I want to do this at the Dragon Communion Church is because, Edgar, we were talking about, he looks like a Sunrealm guy. The age before the Erdtree, probably an age of the sun. Why you don't really see the sun that much during day anymore? Because you got this big glowing tree. And the Misbegotten kind of look like dragon people. Edgar's got the dragon Banished Knight armor that kind of looks dragony. But he does Erdtree incantations. And what's important about that is that we're seeing that, even though these people might have had a culture that existed before the Erdtree, or parallel to the Erdtree, cultures kind of meld together, they adapt. We might see, dragon worshipping people who may have not had a culture that revolved around root burial, like, maybe Lutel the Headless or the Banished Knight Engval. But they still might, engage in cultural practices that overlap. The arc of history is very long, and it's not, I don't think it's conducive for us to treat all of these cultures as monolithic. That all people worship in the same way and all people have the same cultural practices in the same way. And we're kind of going to see that here within the Strident Graveyard. We're going to use 2 of our Stone Sword keys, and we're going to attempt on doing this dungeon and seeing what we can learn from this place. So before we go in, this is, if we recall, down this way is where we were dropped off, Grafted Scion, or the butterflies led us to falling down there. Melina saved us. She gave us the flasks. Torrent led us to her. And then we had some of Godric's soldiers trying to catch us. We see these banners here. They look like they have bird wings. They kind of look, you can see bird wings on the side. Maybe a helmet with a man's head on there. 2 hands. That kind of looks like the digits have 3, maybe 2 or 4. It's hard to say, but this is like a bird man. And we were looking at Castle Morn. We saw a lot of bird imagery. The Banished Knight Engval does storm spells, and we're saying birds fly in the storm. So this looks like this area might have been for those people. And we also have these statues of presumably Queen Marika, but her hands are cut off to hide what she was holding. Could be another woman, but most likely it's Marika. It's interesting that there's poison down here. I don't know if this is like a trap to protect this place, or if it occurred naturally, but we can see that it kind of ends over here. I do. And here we have one of our traps to go here. We know this is for Erdtree burial in this place, our little prophetic wisdom, and people are trying to protect the roots. In the other catacombs, we had the imps, just the imps, and maybe the watchdogs. But here you can see a lot of would-be grave robbers have come in and they've died to these traps. I think the statue on top, Fringefolk's hero grave, we'll talk about that in a moment. The statue on top, I believe, is the same as the statue that we saw at the Chapel of Anticipation, and it looks like he has the same shield as the Erdtree Sentinels, and is the halberd the same? There's a spiral at the top of our halberd. Is there a spiral on theirs? No, it looks like a different design. This is the Fringefolk's hero's grave, and if we look at our Banished Knight Engval, one of the 2 knights dubbed the Wings of the Storm. So Wings of the Storm, we're getting dragon imagery, bird imagery. Despite his banishment, he rejected the invitation of the Gray-Scriven Lord, instead keeping watch over a masterless castle for many years, gaining renown as hero of the Fringes. So Limgrave, Weeping Peninsula, maybe over here in what is Caelid, probably the Fringes, far away from the Erdtree. And we have spirits defending this place. I don't know if we'll be able to get their items to learn who they are. Oh, okay. I was going to say, why is his body staying there? I'm also not sure if we're going to be able to successfully, do this dungeon. We're going to try our best, but it might be underleveled. So there might be a lot of editing where I cut out all the spots where I've been failing. It's probably better if we jump down this way. And we can see up there's one of the banished knights. He looks like he's in prayer. And we'll get that item later, because we're going to go this way. We have our imps also with wings. I don't think that's related to Wings of the Storm and all that matter. I think it's going to be something we'll learn about further in Shadow of the Erdtree, but for now, we'll talk about it. Let's get more. One thing I like to do for these games, especially doing on a new character, when you don't have much XP or levels or health or whatever, is I like to do like the adventurer playstyle. I like to be able to have a bow on me for traps, and on my hotbar filled with a lot of things. I think it's easy to forget if you keep playing frequently on characters who might have, everything unlocked, and maybe level 713, how difficult the game can be and how many tools are at your disposal. And I think there's a lot of fun to be had with playing in a way that leads to thinking outside the box, and just like that adventure playstyle. This guy had a great sword that we haven't seen before, and it was kind of forked. I don't know if we got any of their forked weapons yet. No, we can't talk about it yet, but we know that they cause bleed, and they kind of look like tongues. And this guy has a different head. He's got like a dog head. And spikes. No wings. This one, cat with wings. A lot of tombs in here. Looks like they're getting ready to bury some people in the roots. And we have new item, lightning grease. The lightning is tied to... We learn lightning from the capital. Ancestors of monodragons. The ancient dragons had scales of gravelstone. One of the incantations of capital is ancient dragon coal, and we can see a dragon in the background holding a lightning bolt. So we're getting some indication that this Fringefolk hero's grave is also tied to dragon worship. Yet it still, as we'll see soon, has some Erdtree America influence. So this is why it's important to not think of these things as being monolithic. And we can also see some grafted scions hanging on the ceiling, and we're going to try not to fight two at a time. But we have this giant woman there, most likely America, but her hands are cut off to hide something, and then an item. This looks like a church area, and we'll once we get that item, we'll learn more about it. But let's see if I can actually get these guys and fight them one at a time. That only pulls one of them, right? Okay, good. Oh, I think this is going to be tough. And speaking of being an adventurer, can I lead him up here to bring him to the... Yes, we can. Alright, so we have some of the golden lineage, grafted scions. Looks like a little kid with some, bird bird trappings on his body here amongst the dragon worshippers. I think, I don't remember what context I was talking about it. I think it was when talking about Edgar being, oh geez, I really screwed up with my flasks, huh? All right. Oh, you know what? We can. Forgot I can heal. Duh. I think I was saying, what does Godfrey have to do with dragon worship? Is he an ancient dragon cultist? Well, now that we have his grafted scions in a Fringefolk hero's grave, with people who seem to be in some way related to the dragons in the Sun Realm, and it's looking like Godric might, perhaps. Oh, is the same trick going to work twice on this guy? I'm kind of like trapped in here. Godric perhaps might have a closer relationship with these Banished Knights and this dragon worship culture than we realized. Oh, geez. Okay, we're gonna have to try this again. And, oh boy, my runes. Oh, they don't, only one of them, they don't respawn. That's good. Alright, and we're back to try it again. So it looks like, we're seeing that those guys with the hoods, the Banished Knights, and maybe even Gondrick and the Golden Lineage, who is represented by the Golden Beast Siraj, as we see on the shield, and some Erdtree worship might be related to dragon worship in some way. And it's kind of like that thing that you wouldn't notice unless you kind of knew what you were looking for, I think, on a first go around. But now that we have a little bit of prophetic knowledge, it's kind of pretty clear what they're trying to tell us. See if I can parry. Oh no, I don't have parry on the shield. Alright. Piece of cake. And what are they worshipping here? Oh, I should have used my heal. Alright, well, we'll be fine. What were they worshipping here? Erdtree's favor. So I think, let's see. I think we could firmly say these statues are of America, and they cut something. They don't want you to see what's in her hands. And there's a church down here. And then we have an image of her with one singular braid. It looks like one braid coming from the front, which is very different than the braids that we see her in her crucifixion statues. It's one braid to the left and then one braid to the right that's cut. But her stakes of America also have one braid. When we come to a stake of America, we'll kind of look at them. She's pouring something in libation, and this says it's a talisman depicting a special blessing of the Erdtree. Slightly raises maximum HP, stamina, quit load. So all the good stuff. It is said that when the age of the Erdtree began, such blessings were personally bestowed upon the recipients by Queen Marika herself. All right, now we're getting something real good here. Something real good. So we've deduced, thanks to the Callo-Baptismal Church, that the goal was in these flasks, we'd have sacred tears. During the age of the Erdtree, these tears were used to spread the faith, for theirs was once a certain blessing. Then we have our Blessed Dew Talisman. We see the chalice and the dew, or the Erdtree sap, a blessed boon that gradually restores HP, going into the chalice. It was once thought that the blessed sap of the Erdtree would drip from its bounds forever, but that age of plenty swiftly came to a close, and with time the Erdtree became a mere object of faith. And at the beginning of the age of the Erdtree, we have Marika pouring out this libation, most likely for baptism, to give people the precious sap. In the age of Godfrey, the first Elden Lord, the Erdtree's old sap becoming amber was the most precious jewel of all. So Marika is personally bestowing the Erdtree's favor onto people to enhance their physical bodies in some way. And I think if we look at... Where am I going? If we look at our Golden Rune 6, those born at the foot of the Erdtree are blessed. At least that is the enduring belief of the people of the plateau. So on the Altus Plateau, if you were born at the foot of the Erdtree, it seems that Queen Marika would personally bestow the sap and the dew upon you. Can we jump down there? I don't recall. Oh, yes, we can. We can jump down that way. We were talking about, the conquest of the Erdtree. How people can be tree worshippers, but maybe not part of, Erdtree society. Well, and there's a lot of people who died here. And these look like people who were fighting. I don't know if these are guys who are supposed to be buried or if they're grave robbers who got killed. My money's on grave robbers. If you're born at the foot of the Erdtree, America is personally bestowing these blessings on you. It looks like a lot of people. A lot of people couldn't get the Erdtree's favor. If you are, looking for America's. Let me start over. So America is personally bestowing the sap that grants these physical powers onto people. And it's the people at the foot of the Erdtree. They believe they're the ones who are most blessed. Godfrey's the first Elden Lord, so his people are the ones who are getting the most blessed. We could see how conflict would arise, especially since the Erdtree burial, people need to be fed to the tree, it seems, just like the man-eating Miranda plants, for them to survive. So you could see where people would be like, not too fond of this Erdtree burial thing, especially when it's only the people at the tower, the people at the base of the Erdtree, who are getting the most blessings. It's not very fair. If you're the only ones in the treehouse are the ones who are allowed to reap the benefit of this whole ordeal, and it requires people dying for that to happen. I think it's easy to see why there'd be conflict. And we're getting half our Storm Star key back. And here, if you guys didn't know this is how you stop these things. I'm not very good at it, so you get 3 shots. I think I'm going to try when he comes up. I think when he hits there, I can... That aim's down, though. Let's try. Okay. Like, maybe when he turns around? I guess when he turns around. There we go. Now we're safe to explore, and we got the Erdtree Great Bow. Can I use it? Let's take a look at it. And let's put on a ballista bolt. It looks like. That's cool. Okay. So our reward for figuring that puzzle, Erdtree Great Bow. Great Bow featuring Erdtree styling. In times of old, when faith and battle went hand in hand, this weapon was created in tandem with the Golden Great Arrow. So we're looking for Golden Great Arrows. Scales all arrow damage with faith, revealing its true worth when used with holy infused arrows. So again, we're kind of seeing that the faith of the Erdtree, we're building on like why the Erdtree is a little bit problematic. There's people with such great faith in the Erdtree that battle goes hand in hand. Is that what it says? Yeah, in times of old, faith and battle. So we're getting religious war, crusades, if you will, for the Erdtree. And it makes sense because when you kill people, you're invigorating the tree. Whether it's people being buried within the roots, or it's people who perhaps just die, and we saw those jars that were brought to the minor Erdtree. Someone could die, get put in a jar, bring their flesh. After a battle, we could just do after a battle, after a military conflict. Put all your enemies in a jar and then give them to the tree. And we're gonna learn more about why you wouldn't want that. In times of old, death was burned in ghost flame, and I'm gonna get murked. Death was burned in ghost flame. We don't know why that is yet, why that you want death to be burned in ghost flame, and what that has to do opposed to Erdtree burial yet. But we will. We'll learn more about that, and I think it's gonna be quite interesting. And are we seeing converts? Or either are these Erdtree converts, or is this, since it's the Fringefolk, it could be some of them are converts into the Erdtree religion. I wouldn't put it past that being the case. Okay. Here, we're going to see something cool with this Banished Knight. So, he looks different than Banished Knight Engvall. He has a hood. He has a shield. These are the... Let's see if we can look at it. Those are the shields that we find. Let's look at the motif on it. Has kind of like a grass motif. Vine and grass. Yeah, you can see two vines and some leaves. They kind of look like lilies. Those look like lilies? Let's see. Yeah, they kind of look like lilies. Not sure what that is. Maybe if we get the shield later, we could talk about it. And let's see if he does something cool. There we go. He's breathing fire, and that's the Dragon Communion seal. So this guy is someone who participates in Dragon Communion, which is the feasting of dragon hearts. So we kind of have dragon worship, but we also have dragon consumption. And it's the modern dragons who are being eaten and worshipped at a church that shows the ancient dragons. And there we go, our Dragon Communion seal. Formless Drake Blood seal. So we have blood is able to be formless, and this is Drake blood. So this seal, this Dragon Communion seal, which kind of has like 3 claws, it's made of Drake blood, allowing it to be it's made of Drake blood, allowing it to be formless, with a Dragon Communion crest. So when we see this, that's Dragon Communion. That's what that guy did. Enhances Dragon Communion incantations. The sacrificial devouring of the heart gives power. We knew that. It allows you to turn into a dragon. Indeed, Dragon Communion is too primal in nature for the term incantation to be appropriate. This seal scales incantation with one's arcane attribute. Can I look up help? I want to see if they say anything about arcane. Attribute governing discovery, kind of luck, also affects holy defense, vitality, and certain sorceries incantations. We don't really know what it means to be arcane yet, but arcane is kind of like magical and mystical without explanation. Dragon Communion is too primal in nature for the term incantation. The ancient dragons ruled in prehistoric times, so perhaps the Drake bloods, the Drakes, also existed in prehistoric times, making it too primal. That also reminds me of primordial, the primordial matter that became the Erdtree. So, and we talked about how that blood, the beast blood glinting with gold, and misbegotten maybe turning into dragons. You know, we're kind of seeing a connection between this royal blood, what is really noble blood and what isn't. And perhaps dragon blood. Dragon blood might be the most noble of all. We know that the ancient dragons who ruled in the prehistoric era before the Erdtree would protect their lord as a wall of living rock. So there was a lord who was guarded by ancient dragons. This might be, you know, a case where dragon blood, blood of the dragon, kind of like Song of Ice and Fire, is more noble than maybe Erdtree blood, or perhaps they're the same thing. This primordial crucible, this dragon blood, perhaps they're all the same thing, but, you know, the world around them doesn't have that understanding. It's one of those things, very George R.R. Martin, to kind of like science, religion, and culture all interwoven, and then they all mean the same thing. Like they all, the truth is all singular, but everyone comes to a different interpretation. Much like doing, you know, lore analysis for any of Miyazaki's games, there is one singular truth for what the games are supposed to mean, represent, what the events are in what order. However, multiple people can come to different conclusions with the same evidence, or lack thereof. We also picked up the dragon wound grease, solidified grease made from a gravel stone mixture, and we know from the dragon heart that there is gravel stone within their hearts. And it says, coats armament granting an anti-dragon effect. When the dragons were born from their ancient kin, they lost their stone scales. So they still have the gravel stone within their heart, but they don't have gravel stone scales, which can now be used to cause them mortal harm. We'll learn later, but this is very Miyazaki. The dragons, ancient dragons having stone scales that grant them immortality. very Miyazaki. You know, it's just kind of his bread and butter. We can also shortcut down this way if we jump down all the way. It's kind of his bread and butter to do stone scales of immortality. So we're seeing that the ancient dragons and dragon communion. You know, we're gonna. Oh, jeez, they beat me up. I think we're gonna learn a little bit later. Oh, that guy has storm spells too. Okay, so we have confirmation that these guys are all related in some way, and they're gonna kick my ass. I don't think I'm ready for that boss fight coming up. Woo. Fortunately, we destroyed the chariot. I'll be back here shortly. While we're fighting these guys, I want to just mention, talk a little about spirits. We have the ability to summon spirits with the Spirit Calling Bell. That needs a rebirth monument for them to be summoned. We learned from the Shield of the Guilty about a maiden who had her eyes gouged out and was reborn in this land, showing the repoise of the soul. Melina is burned and bodiless. She's searching for her purpose. We need to bring her to the foot of the Erdtree. We had the ghosts who were headless and were guarding the Wandering Mausoleum. And now we have these ghosts who are able to teleport inside of this catacomb. We also have the vengeful spirits that are living inside of those who live in death. The living, they're those who live in death. That kind of makes sense. But now we have these type of spirits. And we're kind of seeing some of the rules of how spirits can abide by. Seems like they need to be in a specific place for them to, or something needs to be happening. The Wandering Mausoleum, they have the bell. That seems why they're allowed to live there. They also cut off their heads. So we have the Headless Mausoleum Knights. These guys are inside of a graveyard. Their bones are probably buried here. This is for the Fringefolk. Those are probably the Fringefolk. And they're probably entombed in here, and that's why their spirits appear. Oh, here we go. Oh, this is a complete America statue. I don't really have... Oh, I think I have a... Did I buy the lantern? I did. So let's look at her to compare to Erdtree's favor. One braid. Yeah. She also has the bracelets. We noticed that Radigan also had kind of bracelets. She also has them, but I think they're further up on her arms. Does she have bracelets in this? No bracelets. Okay. Let's go in here and hopefully not get our asses kicked. We're gonna be. I think we're gonna summon Engball for this too. We gotta buff up. All right, ulcerated tree spirit. It's a spirit of the tree, so trees can have spirits as well, not just people. He's ulcerated. You can see that it's bloody. If I had a bleed weapon, I'd be able to, actually make him bleed. So the trees can bleed. We were talking about kind of the life energy, them absorbing people, and we're kind of seeing that right now. You can see it's red. It kind of looks like the root resin too, so it's giving me this idea that they... the power of the Erdtree, its sap and all of that comes with it, is because of, its ability to feed onto people. Engball's getting beat up. And it can breathe fire, golden fire. So the trees, even though you'd think, they're weak to fire, they still have the ability... Oh, and I missed the riposte. They still have the ability to conjure up flames in some way. Yeah, these golden flames. And we killed him in one hit. And it gives us a golden seed. So this ulcerated tree spirit to have an ulcer is a sore, generally lining the stomach or esophagus. which is, for digestion. So we're getting that tree spirit is ulcerated, where it's supposed to be eating things. What caused the part of the tree that is consuming people? We see this all over the place. This is where the tree is really consuming people. What caused it to become ulcerated? What caused the tree spirits to become ulcerated? It could breathe fire, and it was bloody in some way. So we're going to be looking for what could cause a tree spirit to be ulcerated, and the fact that the tree has a spirit. The tree isn't just alive as we would see snow trees, and this is also like the most roots we've seen. We could see why this is like a hero's grave. We got Banished Knight Oleg. This isn't just like a... Yeah, look at that. Is there root resin down here? Is it like a sprite? Sorry, I'm just getting distracted by a lot of things. We could see on this grave, this tomb, there are little trees on there, and they're also the keepers. So perhaps this Oleg's ashes were put into there. But yeah, what we're going to look for what caused the tree spirit to become ulcerated, and the fact that the tree has a spirit. How is that different than humans who have spirits? The Erdtree also has avatars, so the Erdtree has a will in some way. Very interesting. And we could see that this place, for the Fringefolk, they're really burying people in here. How did they get people in these balls up there? Did the roots start receding? And we also got a golden seed. When the Erdtree shattered, these seeds flew from the Erdtree. But we found it down here, so did someone put this Erdtree seed here as an offering to these roots? This is, we want there to be a minor Erdtree here, or to enhance these roots in some way, and someone brought the Erdtree seed here. And did the Erdtree seed make the ulcerated tree spirit? Did it give it enough power to manifest as a tree spirit in that way? Banished Knight Oleg, one of the two knights known as the Wing of the Storm. Actually, let's look at that from here. So let's look at Engbal again. They're both 100. So first, Engbal is one of the two knights dubbed the Wings of the Storm. So here's our two knights, both banished knights. Despite his banishment, he rejected the invitation of the grace-given Lord. Despite his banishment. So, dragon worshipper, knights get banished, most likely after their after Sun Realm collapses. That's where we're going with right now. After the Sun Realm collapses, these knights are banished. Then there's this guy named the Grace-Given Lord, and he's inviting him, but he rejects that invitation. Instead, he's going to keep watch over a masterless castle for many years, gaining renown as a hero of the fringes. I'm thinking that the masterless castle is Castle Morn, and then Edgar becomes the new master of that castle, thanks to Godric, who seems to have the tie to these dragon worshippers because of the grafted scions found in here, and that he sent Edgar to Castle Morn, and we found lightning grease in this catacomb, and we know that lightning is tied to the ancient dragon cult. So let's look at Oleg. One of the two knights known as Wing of the Storm. After his banishment, he retracted the notice of the grace-given Lord, and later, having slain 100 traitors as the Lord's hand, Oleg earned the hero's honor of an Erdtree burial. So it seems like he was banished, probably dragon worshiper, Wings of the Storm, all that jazz. This grace-given Lord guy says, you won't be banished anymore if you fight for me. You are a wonderful knight. I know you can kill a ton of people. You'll get a pardon, I guess, and kill my enemies. Kill the enemies. It says grace given, Erdtree burial. So grace given Lord. Maybe a Lord of the Erdtree for the moment. And because of that, he gets an Erdtree burial. So we can kind of see why he would want an Erdtree burial. He kind of has a culture shift. He moves from being maybe a dragon worshiper and says, I won't mind. I don't want to be banished anymore. This sucks. I'll worship your tree. I'll kill your enemies, and then I'll do your burial practices. Does he want to do a burial practice? We don't know, but it's better than living out his life maybe on the fringes. And let's add a charge to our flask. So that's just going to be, I think that's going to be a short episode, or as short as it was. Our next episode, we will go into Stormhill. Start doing from there. Since the last episode was really long, this one will just be a little bit shorter. All right. You know the drill. Let's do the thing.